March 1945. The German army's Eastern Front has been pushed back to within only 60 miles of Berlin itself. The shattered stormtroopers are now reinforced by young boys in a last-ditch attempt to defend Hitler's crumbling Reich. As they prepared for the final defense of their homeland, the desperate German troops were joined by a bizarre unit of SS volunteers. On their sleeves, the British flag. On their collars, the 3 lions of England. They were British prisoners of war who joined the hated Waffen-SS, wore its uniform, and went into battle for Hitler. Until now, none of these British SS soldiers has ever spoken on television about their treachery.
We went straight into the SS uniform, and we were supposed to be getting ready to go on the Russian front.
We have tracked down the only survivor of the 59 men who passed through Hitler's renegade British SS unit. They enjoyed the freedom of Germany while their comrades suffered in prison camps or died in battle. But back home in Britain, they brought shame on their families.
My father was a traitor. He had betrayed his country and he paid the price.
At the end of the war, they were rounded up by MI5 and most were prosecuted. But the official files on their shameful actions were classified and locked away for 50 years. Only now can the story of the Brits who fought for Hitler be revealed. The British unit that fought for Hitler was not originally a German idea. It was in fact the brainchild of an upper-class, Harrow-educated Englishman called John Amory. Not only was he English, he was in fact the son of a leading member of Churchill's wartime cabinet, Leopold Amory. Much to his father's embarrassment, John was a sexual psychopath and a devious fraudster. Even his best friends nicknamed him the Rat. Despite the fact that he was a quarter Jewish, Amory was a fanatical anti-Semite and a devout fascist. Living in France when it fell to the Germans in 1940, he made pro-Nazi, anti-British speeches to French audiences. But Amory wanted a bigger stage for his treachery. He moved to Berlin and offered his services to Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda supremo. Already working for Goebbels was a group of British Nazi sympathizers led by William Joyce, the notorious Lord Haw-Haw. He broadcast Nazi propaganda to Britain, boasting of Hitler's triumphs and calling on his countrymen to lay down their arms.
Germany calling, Germany calling, Germany calling.
Many of the files on World War II traitors like Lord Haw-Haw are held at the Public Record Office. Historian and ex-intelligence officer Adrian Wheel has spent years studying them and has had privileged access to other secret material still held by MI5.
Throughout the 1930s and the period leading up to the war, there was a substantial fascist movement in Britain led by Oswald Mosley. And a smaller offshoot of that was a British Nazi party, in fact led by Lord Haw-Haw, William Joyce. Just before the war, Joyce and 1 or 2 other British Nazis did actually travel to Germany. They made the decision that if there was going to be a war between Britain and Germany, then the German side, the Nazi side, was the one that they wanted to be on. They were traitors. They were people who had abandoned their country in the hour of need. By any classical definition of treason, they were traitors.
One of those traitors in Berlin was the young James Clark. Just before the war, he went to Germany with his mother, a fervent believer in Hitler, and for 2 years he broadcast propaganda for the Nazis. Today, James Clark lives in a Derbyshire village. He never took up arms against Britain, and he regrets his youthful enthusiasm for Nazi Germany. But he doesn't deny that he betrayed his country under Hitler's seductive spell.
It was a very definite, conscious choice. It was, will I stand by Hitler? Will I stand by the Führer in this enormous crisis of history, etc., etc. It was love. Infatuation with the cause and the results. France, as a military power, eliminated a British army withdrawn entirely from the continent. This seemed to be the triumph to beat all triumphs.
With his family background, John Amory's defection was another triumph for the Nazis and their British sympathisers.
You heard that the son of one of Churchill's cabinet ministers has come over to our point of view.
If you wish to look at Germany in good faith,
Amory threw himself into the propaganda war, churning out racist pamphlets and broadcasting the Nazi point of view.
propaganda would wish you to believe. Extension of living space, yes.
But Amory's treachery didn't stop at pamphlets. As he looked out over the Channel to England, the country that was now his enemy, he hatched a plan for what he called the greatest propaganda idea ever. A force of British volunteers fighting under the Nazi flag. John Amory called his imaginary British Nazi force the Legion of St. George. He put his proposal to Hitler, who thought the idea brilliant. On the 28th of December 1942, the Führer issued an order for the establishment of an English legion of fascist sympathisers. Quality, he demanded, not quantity. With the green light from Hitler, Amory rushed off to recruit British prisoners of war for his Nazi legion. But his first attempt ended in disaster. He was chased out of the camp by the angry British inmates. The Germans were furious at Amory's dismal failure, so they handed the project to the Waffen-SS. One of the most brutal and hated military forces in history was now to have a British unit marching with them under the Nazi swastika.